the prosecution mistakes admission for confession. In law, in a confession, the defendant admits his guilt. In an admission, the defendant merely states facts which might tend to prove his guilt. As a former RTC judge, I find it reprehensible beyond belief that the AMLA document was introduced in evidence without authentication as required by the rules of evidence. Nagpapanggap-panggapan pa tayo na korte tayong quasi-judicial. Yun pala, sinabi pa natin na if there is any need, we shall use as a supplementary authority the rules of court. Ayun pala, hindi natin susundin ang rules of evidence. Hindi ka pwede magdala maski anong papel sa korte. I-authenticate mo. Kung hindi mo intindi kung anong authenticate, di huwag kang mag-abogado dyan. Natin may sala yan. Ibig lang dahil crooked siya, ibig lang sabihin tayo, honest tayo. Ngayon, kung lahat pala tayo honest, o marami pala tayo sa atin ay honest, why is the Philippines often, or if not all the time, why is the Philippines always ranked as one of the most corrupt countries in the whole world? Yan, sagutin niyo ako niyan. Nagpapakalinis kayo? Aba kung malinis pala ang mga opisyalis natin at malinis pala sa buong bansa, bakit palagi tayong nililista ng Transparency International as one of the most corrupt countries in the world? Magtitingnan tayo? Sino kaya dito? Secrecy of foreign currency deposits law is a child of this Congress. We passed that law and said the secrecy of foreign currency deposits is absolute except and only except when the depositor himself gives his consent. We've made that condition sole, alone, and by itself. We made that law. Now are we going to break that law? Lawmakers cannot be lawbreakers. On motion, define. I will supply the answer. Evidence in motion is evidence that is not given action. What is the determining criterion for the applicability of judicial precedent? That's very easy to answer.
Well, the issues and the parties should be the same.
That's right. Correct.
Yes.
For the rule in that case,
Yes,
what
ma'am.
is obiter dictum?
Well, it is just cited the case, but it does not decide the case. It's outside of the...
It's also persuasive, but it is not as significant or as vital as the ratio decidendi, right? Supreme Court ruled that the foreign currency deposit could be scrutinized. What was the main offense charged?
It was rape.
To render a limited pro hac vice ruling. What is the meaning, counsel, of pro hac vice?
Only in this case. Applicable only in this case.
Yun lang pala, alam mo naman pala. Law. If the bank president refuses to answer a question concerning a foreign currency deposit, will he incur a penalty?
If there's a justifying circumstance, then he will not incur.
You're temporizing. I give you a grade of 3. In UP, as you know, that means 3 warning. I pass you, but I warn you.
Thank you.
I beg the indulgence of this court. I'm hyperventilating because I'm very, very upset. I will leave this court immediately because I'm sure I have hypertension. Hindi mo pala alam kung ano yun eh. Bakit mo singilin kami? Na-issue kami ng sabina. Ano yun? That's only a scrap of paper. Why are you doing this to the court? Why didn't you go hit your law books? So kung ano-ano mga pinagsasabi nyo Say again? 1, I heard someone who I cannot identify say something. Number 2, I read it in the media. Now, it is my duty to bring it to the attention of the court. Duty my foot. It is not your duty. It is your liability. That is disgrace to the judicial system. Without more. Pwede na ba yun sa korte? Alam mo, source told us. So we're alleging it in our request for subpoena. Is that allowed? Can you allege something in open court or even in a written pleading with a court that you have information, but it is based on an anonymous source? My goodness, if you bring this to any trial judge in the entire country, particularly in Metro Manila, you'll be cited for contempt. Who was the appointing authority?
The President, Your
I
Honor.
didn't hear you correctly. Who was your appointing authority?
The President, Your Honor.
The President. And you knew already when you issued the certification that it was the President of the Philippines whom you observed and supported for many years who wants the Chief Justice to be impeached. Answer yes or no.
It didn't appear that way to me, Your Honor.
Ah, really? What appeared to you then?
That there was a party, the prosecution team, who wanted
I know, but did you ask, since you are a lawyer and a registered one at that, you've signed the roll of attorneys, did you ask what they wanted it for? You mean you were completely innocent of what the purpose was for asking for this list?
It appeared to me that they needed some materials for research, Your Honor.
Research? Research for what? Did you ask?
For information relative to the properties of the Chief Justice.
Yes, but did you ask? He couldn't even write to a formal letter, which would normally be the venue for a remedy sought by a senator or a congressman.
Nervous. I'm very
So cold.
practiced with witnesses who come to court for the very first time. I strongly suggest that you take a sip of water, which is what we do when the witness is disturbed. And please do not think that I'm going to try and trap you with a clever question. I will not do that with you, since you are in effect an impartial witness. I want to reveal you to the public in all your beauty and in the full glory of your college education. I am your friend. It appears from your narration recently that you were deeply disturbed by the visit of Mr. Banal. Is that a correct impression?
Yes,
You
Your
were
Honor.
so disturbed that you went on a round of talks from one superior officer of the bank to another. Isn't that so?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you had reason to be, because I think even only subconsciously, you remembered that you and he were talking about a foreign currency deposit. You are talking about a foreign currency deposit that did not belong to him. Is that why you were disturbed?
I was disturbed, Your Honor, because apparently this person was holding what seemed like a bank document, which was...
Thank you.
Yes, I'm finished with my statement.
That does not apply, counsel. Let me educate you. When an official custodian or other representative qualified by that office or authorized by that office to issue an official record does so, then the presumption applies that what is stated in the official record is correct. To that extent, therefore, there is an exception to the hearsay rule. That person or that custodian or that record keeper does not have to explain why his record is that way. You just have to take it on faith. That is the meaning of that. But we are talking of a dissenting opinion by collegiate body, the Supreme Court. So, if the dissenting opinion contains certain narrations of fact, which in fact are intended to dispute what the majority opinion has issued, you cannot prima facie presume that the dissenting opinion is correct and the majority opinion is wrong. That's why I read you those cases where the Supreme Court repeatedly said, you rely on the majority opinion, not on the dissenting opinion. That is why I was warning you already, do not engage in a colloquy with the judge. That is not allowed by the rules of the impeachment court.
All right.
Put it in your memorandum.
All right. May the
The question of whether the defendant committed an impeachable offense when he allegedly erroneously misdeclared certain entries or completely omitted certain entries in his psalm. Let us see and I come now to the gist of what I really wanted to say. Let us come now to what the Supreme Court has to say. When you fail to properly and completely file your psalm, what are you committing? What crime are you guilty of? In the most recent case, 2011, Presidential Anti-Graft Commission v. Plato, spelled P-L-E-Y-T-O, PAGC versus Plato, promulgated in 2011, the Supreme Court answered, the failure is not dishonesty but only simple negligence. That prosecution panel should be the topic of your next oral manifestation, and particularly your written manifestation or memorandum at the end of this trial. No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall any person be denied the equal protection of the law. This clause is so important that, as I said, in the view of certain constitutional experts, with tripartite democracies like ours all over the world, tanggalin mo ng buong saligang batas, iwan mo lang ang due process at ang equal protection clauses, meron ka ng proteksyon ng buong saligang batas para sa karapatan pantao. That is how important due process sa impeachment trial eh. Ang dami kasing sawsawero doon eh. Mas marunong pa sila sa nag-aral ng batas. Palagi silang sasabing technicality. Exactly. The law is exactly a body of technicalities. That's why you need 4 years of law school plus 1 year of the bar, in all, a total of 9 years, para malaman mo kung ano itong mga teknikalidad na ito. Dahil kung wala tayong mga teknikalidad na iyan, wala tayong tinatawag na rule of law. Wala tayong tinatawag na due process of law. Kaya, itong mga iba na nagdudung-dunungan, akala mo kung marunong pa sila sa abogado sa dating hukom o sa mga hukom ngayon, nakaupo. Kung ano nung mga pinagsasabi, so filled with hubris about their ignorance. Kasi kursunada nila, o kaya meron silang intuition, o kaya meron silang conscience, para bang ang konsyensya nila mas malakas ng sa konsyensya ng lahat ng tao sa buong bansa. Yan ang problema sa bansa na ito. Nagdudunong-dunungan.